This is the
Five Starr
Podcast.
Let me talk to you. Hi. What do you guys want to talk about? Thanks, guys. Back to you.
Coming at you this Monday for another relatively short Monday podcast. The Five Starr Wrestling Report. For anybody new to the channel, welcome aboard. It is the wrestling podcast nobody knows, but everybody needs. We are here on YouTube and Rumble on Mondays and Fridays for, I always want to say classic reviews, but probably be more accurate to say mainly classic reviews. Unless we're covering a WWE Premium Live special on the Cock Network. And in that case, it's classic coverage with a sprinkle of modern coverage. But we don't want to overdo it here. Just like the way we like it here on the channel. I always want to steal Jim Cornette's old mantra that Bob Caudle would read on the Smoky Mountain tapes. Wrestling the way it used to be and how you like it. Literally a phrase that only people my age or older would truly appreciate. Before wrestling got neutered, castrated, and hung out the pasture. All the things we wish about Retro Raw in the year 1995. Partially kidding, but not really. So, yes, that is definitely on the agenda here. We will get to Retro Raw shortly. I did say that my schedule might change up a little bit, depending on travel for my job over the next couple weeks. As of this point, everything should be normal in terms of upload schedule. That could obviously change, but for right now, we're good. Still getting details about where I'm going to be throughout the month of November. Currently, I don't have any out-of-town commitments that are going to require me to be cooped up in a hotel for the entire week. But I only have the first week of my schedule pre-planned. So we may have a few delays with the Friday uploads, but worst comes to worst, I just upload them on Saturday. So you will get 2 podcasts. It's just a matter of figuring out logistics of when they'll go up to YouTube and Rumble. But again, I'll keep you in the loop if anything changes. I just want to get that talking point off the table because I know I'm going to forget to mention it later on. All right. So let's get into the show. This Halloween Eve edition of Monday Night Raw from October 30th. And I do have to give credit where it's due. You all know how much I hated Todd Pettingill as an on-screen personality. But his impression of Count Dracula was not too shabby. I was thoroughly impressed. I still would prefer not having to see Todd Pettingill on my screen, period, but for about 45 seconds, he was tolerable. I won't say the same for the rest of the show. The fact that it was a holiday-themed show should give you all the indication you needed that it was essentially going to be a fuck-off episode. Although they did give us plenty to talk about when it came to people dressing up in costumes. The most telling of which was Vince's. Now, Lawler was just a dental surgeon. At least that's keeping in theme with the relation to Isaac Yankem. I shit you not. As God is my fucking witness. This is a real thing. I am not making this up. And Lord knows, looking at this through the lens of 2024, it was eerily prognostic. So Vince did indeed dress up for the show. Do you know what his Halloween outfit was? He was a convict. Let me repeat that. Vince McMahon, in the year 1995, decided to dress for Halloween as a convict. With the full stripe outfit and everything. Yeah, I don't really know how to respond to that one. It's like Vince was seeing his future approximately 30 years out from this point. You could make that shit up if you tried. I saw that outfit. I was floored. I was like, how in the fuck is this not irony in the most blatant form? Vince McMahon dressed like a prisoner. I have now seen it all. It actually made Goldust's Raw debut look ordinary by comparison. Meanwhile, they kept emphasizing how bizarre and spooky Goldust was. Some may have also used the term androgynous a time or two. Interchangeable terminology. Now, obviously we talked about Goldust's official debut at the Fourth in Your House. This wasn't really a debut in the traditional sense of the word. It was his network televised debut. He wrestled Savio Vega here. I think we classified his in-ring debut at the pay-per-view as moderately underwhelming. I still maintain the entrance was more captivating than the actual work between Goldust and Marty Jannetty. The match itself was kind of boring and lame. And you know, it's so weird. You see, I remember bits and pieces about the earlier incarnations of Goldust. For some reason, though, I just had it built into my memory that he was way more eccentric from the beginning. But this is now 2 matches we've seen from him where he just goes out there and wrestles a standard pro wrestling match. There's like absolutely nothing to it. He's out there working over Savio and nerve holds and arm bars. He's being a heel. He's working over body parts and trying to accentuate a bad guy persona. But like nothing about his attitude matches the gimmick. Not that I actively wanted him to go out there and grope Savio or cop a feel over his nether regions. But we all sort of remember Goldust for those kinds of gestures. So far, we have not seen any of it. It's just Dustin Rhodes having a Dustin Rhodes match. Except he's dressed like a fucking transvestite. Am I allowed to say that on YouTube? Or am I going to get flagged for that? The point is, the match is okay for a wrestling match, but it was literally just a match. I'm starting to think we're still at the point in Dustin's career where he's clearly uncomfortable working this gimmick. I mean, that's plain as day. You know, it's still not entirely fleshed out to where his ring-style match is what the Goldust gimmick was supposed to be. And I know Dustin's been on record saying that he absolutely hated this gimmick. Took him a long time to actually be comfortable working it on television. But yeah, it's so weird looking at this retrospectively. It's Goldust, but it's not Goldust at the same time, you know what I mean? I guess Vince was right. It is bizarre. So yeah, he won with some type of cradle pinfall. I don't even know what the hell you'd call it. Again, match was utterly forgettable the second it was over. Then we had absolutely terrible product placement with Barry Horowitz and Hakushi, where they've now given up trying to make Hakushi a semi-remotely credible character. Now he's just a bumbling idiot along with the rest of the peanut gallery. By the way, sidebar here. Does anybody actually remember Karate Fighters? I used to see that shit fly off the shelves when I was a kid. I mean, it was on par with the Power Rangers or the Mutant Ninja Turtles in terms of like heavy selling action figures. Those and Karate Fighters. And they look so janky, dude. But they were toys. And by God, we 90s kids knew how to have fun with just about anything. You know what else kind of looked janky? Marty Jannetty trying to have a good match with Joe Dorgan. I think Jannetty would have been better off wrestling the wet mop in the broom closet. At least the mop would have cooperated for him. I don't even remember what the hell happened here. All I know is I was watching a very below average TV match for a while. Then all of a sudden I needed to go hack a huge loogie. And when I came back, Jannetty had already won the match and was posing on the top rope. And they never showed a replay to determine how he won. I was also lazy and didn't feel like rewinding 30 seconds to see it. Truthfully, I didn't care. It's Marty Jannetty in 1995. Even die-hard Rockers fans couldn't possibly give a shit. I just have a quick question, though, about continuity. And then we'll keep moving along with the rest of the show. So next week, they're apparently doing Lawler and Isaac Yankem against Bret Hart and Hakushi in a tag match. When in the fuck did Hakushi and Bret become acquaintances? Weren't these guys feuding on and off for like the last 6 months? Did I miss something? I mean, I know Hakushi's a babyface and all, but I seem to recall him carrying around a severed Bret Hart head. Call me a little skeptical, but I'd be hesitant to want to associate with anybody that carried around a severed version of my head. Fake or not. It's a little weird. So at this point in the program, we had Jim Cornette, Clarence Mason, and the Bulldog in the ring. And they're obviously pretty hot, considering all the bullshittery that went down in Your House. My observation was more of I was pretty hot considering I had to watch that bullshit of a main event match. But I digress. So JC's laying out the story that because of Bret Hart's interference in that match, it cost Davey Boy the WWF title. And because of Gorilla Monsoon's previous stipulations, that the winner of the Diesel Davey Boy main event would go on to face Bret Hart at Survivor Series, well, that all got thrown into disarray when Bret stuck his nose in the match. Because technically Bulldog won that match on account of a disqualification, but he's still not the champion. So he brought aboard his legal representative for the week. That way Clarence could hash out the details with Gorilla Monsoon and try to get the situation all cleared up. I did like hearing Corny break out the well-written Ritz line. I still don't know if I could actually do that on the spot without fucking it up. So I'll just not even try. But, so yeah, Clarence lays out the details of the faulty contract, noting that the contract explicitly said the winner of the In Your House main event would wrestle Bret Hart at Survivor Series. So after some heavy detective work, his conclusion is that Davey Boy should get to wrestle Bret Hart, and that way we could figure out who's really deserving of the title shot at Survivor Series. And before they can really lock down anything specific on the WWF title situation, well, then Corny shifts the conversation over to this wild card deal they're doing at the pay-per-view, where they're basically pitting babyfaces and heels against each other at random for no discernible reason. And even Cornette had a valid argument against doing the match. He's like, my men, in this case Owen and Yokozuna, they're being forced to wrestle the British Bulldog when there's no rhyme or reason for it. It's ridiculous. It's stupid. And it makes no goddamn sense. And, I mean, far be it for me to have to agree with the bad guy in this situation, but, you know, he's kind of right. What did I say last week when I thought back to them booking this wild card Survivor Series elimination match? First off, I was like, why do I have no memory of that match ever happening? Well, probably because it was everything that Corny just stated in this promo here. It was ridiculous. It was stupid. And it made no frickin' sense. I mean, think about it. It would be one thing if there was like a title shot on the line or some kind of net benefit for the winning team. Like the winning team members advance to Raw to face each other to determine who gets the next title shot or something like that. But they didn't even do that. This kind of fell into that Vince Russo booking logic where everybody's supposed to hate each other. There's no bad guys or good guys. Everybody's out for themselves. We'll have good guys and bad guys fight each other for no reason and then wonder why the audience doesn't give a fuck and nobody's over. Not saying this was that extreme of a case. Good God. But you see what I'm getting at. Why are we just randomly having a wild card Survivor Series tag match? Why are Cornette's team members being forced to compete against each other? Better yet, why wouldn't everybody just turn on the other and align with their so-called friend groups? It's not like there's anything at stake in this match. Who gives a crap? Why would Shawn Michaels want to team with the British Bulldog? He may as well just align with all the babyfaces so they could all gang up on the heels. Yeah, this is dumb. Not the promo segment. The promo segment was fine. It just kind of existed. I'm talking about the wild card match. From there, we had the Smoking Guns in a squash match with Bud Abbott and Lou Costello. Funny enough, the one guy here actually kind of looked like Costello. If you can just picture a pudgy Costello without a shirt on. The match sucked, but the big takeaway in this was the split screen where the 1-2-3 Kid, cough cough, attempted to cut a threatening promo on the Guns, challenging them to put up their belts on the line against him and Razor one more time to prove they're real champions. And it sounded about as threatening as a fucking nerd trying to pick a fight in a bar. Can I just say this now? I know we're still like 3 to 4 years away from peak X-Pac heat in the WWF. Has this guy ever actually done anything successful in the wrestling business that wasn't just him associating with the bigger stars? Not even him actually being a productive asset to being aligned with the bigger stars. I don't give a shit what anybody says. He was always the lab dog. Always. He was the geek that hung around the big stars and pretended like he was a badass. Meanwhile, we all knew who the real top stars were. I know that'll piss off the 40 people out there that actually like Sean Waltman, but seriously, dude. This guy was a black hole of fucking charisma. His promos were the drizzling shits. He had the personality of rotting tree bark. Just a painfully thin-looking scrub with awful ratty hair. The only thing he ever had going for him was that he could work a little bit. He was a very talented athlete. But you remove the wrestling aspect of everything, this guy was blander than mayonnaise, dude. An absolute nothing burger. No wonder people got fed up with him by the year 1999. God. All right, I'm done ranting. I just needed to get that off my chest. That was some pent-up frustration I've been dealing with for the last 5 months in reviewing this product. No joke. I can't think of another single wrestler in my lifetime that was always affiliated with the top groups and the big names in both major wrestling companies, yet he was never a big name in his own right. Like, you think, NWO, DX, The Clique, the big groups or the factions that practically carried both major promotions throughout the entirety of the Monday Night Wars. Sean Waltman was affiliated with both. Yet he was always just a dude. Hogan, Nash, Hall, Shawn Michaels, Triple H. Even fucking Chyna was a bigger star than this guy. And then there was X-Pac. Or Six-Pac in WCW. I just can't think of anybody else that ever fit that category. A guy that was always attached to the guys, but nobody ever actually gave a shit about him. You know what? Never mind. I just thought of another one. Jeff Jarrett. I stand corrected. So then we come to the main event. Owen Hart and Razor Ramon for the IC title. By the way, I needed a good laugh this weekend. Paul Bearer's promo from the graveyard, saying that The Undertaker's face was too gruesome to show at the moment, even for Halloween. but he will be back soon. That was great. Yeah, I did notice a lack of spoopiness without Undertaker making a cameo on this show. But I guess he was still in surgery after having 500 pounds of ass dropped over his face. Nothing he could do. Blame Mabel for that. So anyway, Owen and Razor. I love this match. I figured that was going to be the case when they promoted it over the last week. See the parties involved. I think my only problem with this that kind of ruined my overall enjoyment of it was all the goddamn commercial breaks. Seriously, what was it with all the fucking commercials in this match? There were like 3 of these things. All within like 5 to 10 minute ratios. It was like watching a Raw match in 2024. You watch guys wrestle for 2 minutes and then go to commercial. Then you come back wondering why people are disengaged. At least the TV audience. But looking past that, these guys were fantastic here. And it's all the typical Owen Razor offense we see. Razor's in control early on. He's throwing around Owen and making everybody in Camp Cornette look like tools. Corny even took a bump on the apron in the first 5 minutes. He took a bump earlier in the show, too. He got knocked out by Marty Jannetty in that promo segment. I don't think I mentioned that, by the way. But of course, they do the deal where Razor gets cut off as Yokozuna comes down to run a distraction. Razor took an awesome bump into the guardrail when Owen gave him a baseball slide, too. And that allowed for Owen to work him over for the heat. They built up to some near falls at the end, which the crowd popped for. The Owen hard elbow drop that immediately led to a commercial spot was infuriating. I was like, fuck off. But, well, they come back right as Razor has Owen up on the Razor's edge. At which point Yoko hit the ring for the blatant DQ. And that's kind of when all hell broke loose with a bunch of guys in the Survivor Series tag match getting involved. Well, actually, no, looking back, I don't know why the 1-2-3 kid was out there. He's not part of the wild card match. But he is friends with Razor, so the run-in made sense. But Yoko lays him out. And then we get Ahmed Johnson hitting the ring for the so-called save. Of course, the minute we see Ahmed in there, I'm just rubbing my hands together, waiting to see what he was about to fuck up. He managed to give Yoko one of those Luger-like body slams, where he gets him like a quarter of an inch off the mat, but it's Yokozuna doing all the heavy work. And of course, right as they go off air, they have Davey Boy and Ahmed do a stare down, which didn't lead to anything. At least not while the cameras were rolling. But yeah, that was Ahmed Johnson's Raw debut. Well, at least his in-ring debut. Other than those vignettes we've seen where we can barely understand what the hell he's talking about. I assume at some point we'll see him work a couple squashes on television. And that is where the real fun begins. Yeah, it truly was a Halloween Nightmare edition of Raw. Ahmed Johnson debuted. Hide the children. Again, you know, holiday shows are normally wasted episodes of television most weeks in wrestling. The assumption being that most people aren't watching television anyway, so what's the harm in producing mediocre TV that doesn't really advance any storylines? Of course, this was preceding an actual holiday by 24 hours, so who knows? I know trick-or-treating kind of falls on random days depending on weather or whatever county you happen to live in. So I assume the numbers were down overall regardless. Aside from the IC title match, and there's really nothing on the show worth going out of your way to check out. The big story they're pushing right now is who's the rightful challenger for the WWF title. So at least they're finally back to booking Bret Hart in serious main event programs instead of whatever the fuck they were doing with him for the better part of the last 10 months. I wish I had more to discuss with this show overall, but I really don't. Kind of sucks that we're only able to do one of these classic reviews without any kind of weekend WWE PLE to cover. I think next week is the Saudi show, correct? I guess I can briefly look over the card and see what's booked. I have to imagine they have a full card announced by now. I know they're doing Cody and Gunther for whatever fake belt they decided to make up for that show. So Crown Jewel is next Saturday, November 2nd. And here's the current lineup as of October 27th when I'm recording this. So it's Gunther versus Cody Rhodes for the Crown Jewel Championship. That's a tough match to call. I don't really know who you put over in that instance. Tell you the truth, I think it kind of hurts Cody to lose more than it would say Gunther. Because, wasn't Gunther technically still in the middle of feuding with Sami Zayn? Of course, you know Sami's going to get a nuclear pop if he shows up in Saudi Arabia. So I'm thinking they might do some kind of angle with Sami costing Gunther the match. We'll see, though. They're also doing Liv Morgan and Nia Jax for, I guess, the female version of the same belt. Because, equality and all. Yeah, those Saudis really care about women's rights. We have Seth Rollins versus Bronson Reed, which, okay. Not really sure what the story is there, but again, I don't watch Raw. It's an interesting matchup, I guess. Yeah, I really don't have an opinion of Bronson Reed either way. Yeah, I remember watching him in NXT several years ago, right before they did the 2.0 rebrand, and I don't know. I never really saw the hype. I mean, if you were being booked in the 80s when competent promoters knew how to market big guys, I'd be all for Bronson Reed. Problem is, he really doesn't stand out that much in 2024. How many big guys does WWE have under contract right now? Half a dozen? What makes Bronson Reed stand out above everybody else? I don't know. That's the problem with booking big guys in 2024. Nobody stands out. Plus, Rollins is involved here, and I've been bored of him for years. Randy Orton versus Kevin Owens is kind of interesting. I know they've been shooting some stuff on TV with him and Cody over the last month or two. I saw a couple clips pop up in my YouTube feed. I remember there was a clip going around after Bad Blood where KO jumped Cody in the parking lot or something like that. Now I guess they've roped Orton into the story. I still think the plan is for him to turn on Cody eventually. That kind of being the big title feud headed into 2025. Maybe WrestleMania season, who knows? But Owens and Orton is interesting because they were partners for the last year. I guess Owens turned on Orton too. LA Knight, Carmelo Hayes, and Andrade in a three-way for the U.S. title. Nah. Not a fan of three-ways. I've been over that a million times. Not particularly sold on these opponents either. I like LA Knight, but Hayes and Andrade? Nah. I'll pass on both of them. I might have this match on in the background, but I can't promise I'll pay close attention to it. You know, it's weird, man. Like, ever since Knight beat Logan Paul for the U.S. title, I really haven't been all that enthused with his run. He hasn't been booked on the last two PLEs. I don't really see any clips of him on YouTube that make me want to watch his segments. And he was white hot at the beginning of the year. They're kind of dropping the ball with LA Knight right now. And that sucks. Because he's been involved with a lot of good shit over the last couple years. Once he got past that Bray Wyatt debacle. But the AJ Styles feud I was a big fan of. The stuff with him and Logan Paul was great. Now he has the title. It's like, okay. So now what? Feuding him with Carmelo Hayes and Andrade ain't lighting the world on fire. Hate to break the news. There's apparently going to be a four-way girls tag match for some reason. I don't even care enough to read the participants here, so we'll just gloss over that one. I ain't going to watch that shit. I don't care enough about the girls tag division in WWE. And we've also got this six-man main event with Roman Reigns and the Usos against the Bloodline 2.0. So that's Solo fought 2 and... Oh wait, they still haven't determined whether it's going to be Tama Tonga or Tonga Loa yet. If there's a God, they won't put Tonga Loa in there. Unless we need some comedy relief. Which in that case, I'm kind of pushing for Tonga Loa to be involved. Any opportunity to see him fuck up spots. Especially in front of that crowd. But there you have it. Kind of a subpar crown jewel card. Normally, WWE tries to make these events special. They usually load up the card with a lot of big names. This one's, I mean, there are names, but I just don't really have much of a vested interest in 50% of the card. I like the six-man with the Bloodline guys. Cody and Gunther ought to be intriguing, just to see who they put over. Randy Orton and KO, that should be fun. But yeah, aside from that, I don't know, kind of looks like a standard run-of-the-mill buffer PLE card. Now, these Crown Jewel shows always have great production. They definitely go above and beyond for the set. Not sure how ticket sales did, but I have to assume it'll be mostly sold out. And you know that Saudi crowd is usually engaged. So the environment should be hot. We'll see. We will see. But yeah, that'll wrap up this short and concise Monday show, all things considered. Keeping this one under the hour mark. Thank you to everybody that comes back to check out the show every week. And if you're not subscribed, make sure you do so. You can also comment and like the show for me if you haven't already. But I'll catch you guys on Friday for more of the Classic Territory coverage, and we'll regroup next Monday and cover Retro Raw and this Crown Jewel event. Take care, all. Peace out.